Francesco Rizzuto, who is a professor of European law at Liverpool Hope University and joins us from that wonderful English city. No football to enjoy for a few months, so you can talk to us, Francesco. How much is the EU dependent? The theme we wanted to kind of examine with you is how the EU is driven by individual personalities and individual leaders. How much does the EU need a champion like it had in Angela Merkel?
Good morning. Of course, the EU has always had at its heart two or three key personalities. They generally tend to be German and French. Quite clearly, Macron appears to be, if you like, emerging as the dominant personality, or the personality that's trying to push the European Union agenda as he sees it. Scholz appears to be economically still very significant, but less forceful than Macron. So an individual as a symbol of the nature of the European adventure, let me put it that way, is very, very important.
If the right wing makes the gains it's hoping to, is there a possibility that actually the next commissioner, the person who takes Ursula von der Leyen's place as president of the European Commission, could actually be a Eurosceptic?
No. Predictions in politics are only for the foolish, but I guess I can be foolish and say I do not believe. There are Eurosceptics, by the way, in the European Commission, not necessarily as commissioners, but working in the Commission. I have that on good authority, especially since the last enlargement. But if von der Leyen is not going to be the next president of the Commission, my bet is that it will actually be Mario Draghi. And this is because Macron and others would support this individual. No, look, we need to get these things in perspective. There will undoubtedly be a shift in the composition of the European Parliament as a result of the elections towards the hard and far right. But remember, the far right is divided, if you like, between the French far right, let me put it in those terms, that appears to take a slightly more pro-Russian statist sovereignist view of things than, let's say, the Brothers of Italy, the Italian far right, though, again, they're divided between Meloni and Salvini, who, again, is a little bit more like the French far right. So key point number one, there will undoubtedly be changes in the European Parliament, but I believe that the pro-European parties will retain their majority. The knock-on effect of that will be, of course, that the composition of the Commission might not be exactly as people are predicting now, but it will certainly not be a Eurosceptic Commission. The far right is divided. So unless they come together between, if you like, the hard right and the far right, let me put it in those simple terms, their influence is not likely to be as great as some people may assume. So we'll see on Monday in particular, but there will be changes, but don't expect the European project to suddenly become a Eurosceptic one.
I just wanted to ask you finally a very specific question about one of Emmanuel Macron's statements about how the EU needs to protect itself and can't rely on what were previously allies. If Macron is the man with the charisma to drive the EU project the way he sees it, I think we're agreed that he's inherited that from the lady he used to call Mutti, right? Angela Merkel, and his great relationship with the German Chancellor. This idea of an EU army, can he persuade other leaders to follow that path?
I think that he will, in time, persuade many to follow that path. The big fear in Europe is not just Russia. But obviously Russia is a bit of a challenge for the European Union project. And historically, under Putin in particular, the European Union was seen as something to be combated. The real fear in Europe is actually Trump. Forget all that stuff about, oh, well, we'll have to deal with whoever is president of the United States. Trump is the real threat to the European Union, and this will make it easier to push forward on this agenda of a common European defence. The French have already said that they will put at the disposal of other states their nuclear weapons. We mustn't forget that there is an election going on in the country that I am living in the United Kingdom. And I dare say that there will be changes, if there is a change of government, towards a more coordinated and more united approach in Europe when it comes to defence, if there is a change of government here. So I think that agenda will push forward, because Europe has always pushed forward when the context, when the threats have materialized externally, whether from the East and now, of course, also from the West. So I think that this is a major possibility over the next 5, 6, 7 years.
And it's a 5-year parliamentary term. Professor Rizzuto, thank you. It's always a pleasure.